shall touch faith. Your own personal Jesus. Someone to be your prayers. Someone who cares. Your own personal Jesus. Someone to be your prayers. Someone who's there.
Alright, hello everybody. It's PZ, the host of Brain Rot Broadcast. And today we're going to have a segment about the World Cup and mostly about all the hate that Argentina got. And was it justified? Was it not? We're going to look into it. It was an amazing World Cup. So first, this is the biggest World Cup I've ever seen. I've never seen so many people tuned in. It looked like everybody was having an amazing time. People had favorite players. I actually came to the conclusion that soccer is more exciting than football. Yes, that might be because I'm a Jets fan. That's also a possibility. That's the reason why. But first, let's just go over the highlights of this FIFA World Cup. And then we'll get into all the hate that Argentina got and whether it was deserved or not. So, the World Cup had a lot of fucking great moments. So many. The guy from Holland, he became a fucking instant favorite. Mexico had a great run. The energy there was incredible. Everyone was really enjoying it. Even Argentinians, except they were getting the most hate. The hate was more than I've ever seen it before in previous World Cups. I've actually never seen a team get so much hate from the World Cup until this World Cup. So we're going to get over it. So from what I've seen doing my research, there's two main reasons, that people dislike Argentina, and a lot of people feel like FIFA was rigging it for them so they can make it further along and helping them out with the refs. And then, which is a reasonable take. I would be a little upset if I felt a team was getting favoritism. We were going to look into it. And the second was because Argentina is a racist country, has a lot of historical things against Afro-Latinos, apparently. And we're going to look into that too. And we're going to look into those claims. But, it didn't just stop there. The hate went on to be so vitriol that people were screaming at fans from all over, rooting from all over. Every other country hating on Argentina. It was Argentina pretty much against the world in this World Cup for apparently their racist history. Now, we'll get into what I think about that later. For now, we're just going to look into the actual claims. So, let's start off. I have a lot of tabs, by the way, so it might take a minute. But let's look at this first one. Let me pull it up. We're going to fast forward this one a little bit. This one is more about, the legitimate claim of Argentina getting favorital treatment by the referees. Let's check it out.
We need to talk about Argentina, because there is a strong and heavy debate circling the circles circling the circles. FIFA wants Messi to win it again. Argentina, it is rigged. Argentina's getting special treatment. Look, the fallout since the Argentina-Egypt game, which you would expect given the context of the game to be an incredible moment. Egypt, an underdog, was able to go 2-0 up against Argentina, already having a goal chalked off, and with about 10 minutes left to go, they were nearly knocking out Messi and Argentina to make it to the quarterfinals of a World Cup for the first time in their history. It was a fantastic moment. And Argentina made a comeback in the final 10-11 minutes that everyone watching the game of football would find it as an incredible moment and one of the greatest comebacks in World Cup history. One of the greatest moments in recent World Cup history. However, it's not like that at all. Yeah, granted, it's a great comeback, but the main talking points isn't about the comeback, but it's about the referees, and it's about the officiating. We need to talk about Argentina, and this isn't really a debate in terms of if I think Argentina is getting preferred treatment or not. This is a conversation more on why do so many people think that they do. I've got no skin in this game, I don't hate Argentina. However, if we do face Argentina, maybe not in the semi-finals, oh god, I'm gonna be a disaster. Because when you got clips of the FIFA president, Gianni Infantino, by the way, he's a rat, reacting like this when Cape Verde has scored against Argentina. Cape Verde, which should be the most incredible moment when everyone should be shocked, surprised, happy, his reaction is one of disappointment. Or afterwards when he was interviewed and he said that after the Cape Verde Argentina game saying that he suffered. Why would the FIFA president be reacting like this and suffering in the match about Argentina if he didn't want Argentina to win? So to set the rules straight here, this is not a conspiracy video. This is simply a debate. So comment down below, how do you see fit? Do you think there's any preferred treatment, or do you think this is all just nonsense? There is a growing perception that Argentina appear to always benefit from the big decisions since the 2022 FIFA World Cup. And today we're going to look at why. Because not only when you got Egypt filing a formal complaint to FIFA, you got Egypt players like Zico coming out saying that the referees favoured Argentina, and even the Egypt manager saying he never wants to watch the World Cup again because there's no justice in this competition. Quote, there seems to have been pressure on the Argentinian side on the referee that has brought about this outcome. Life is unfair, the world is unfair, okay, but why isn't there any fairness in sports? I'm not convinced by this outcome and by the way things unfolded in this match. Perhaps they wanted Lionel Messi to stay in the running. In football, there are sometimes external factors that go beyond the technical aspects. The world champions benefited from support at every level. Not only are these damning words, but they're very serious. So let's start with the Egypt match. And look, there's a lot to go through here because a lot happened in this game. There's a reason why there's a main talking point of why Argentina seem to have everything go their way. Again, this isn't saying that there's a conspiracy, but it's a talking point of why this has consistently happened. How Argentina came out of that game with not one yellow card is insane. I saw a stat earlier that Argentina have had 58 fouls this tournament so far with only 3 yellow cards, which I don't think I agree with that, being fair. 60 minutes in, Salah outside the box, foul, not given, okay, could be a bit weak. Second half, Argentina player just collides into the goalkeeper, fouls him, and no card for Argentina. Egypt were already 1-0 up, then they scored a second goal. However, it was ruled out for VAR, it got pulled back to an incident earlier on for what looks like an incredibly soft foul, just battling for the ball. Martinez is already off balance trying to shield the ball, a light contact onto the toes of him, he goes down, an entire goal's been chalked off for Egypt. However, in the Austria game, and McAllister committed a foul in the build-up to Argentina's goal against Austria, this wasn't pulled back and it wasn't even given a VAR check. But okay, mistakes can happen. Later on, when the Argentine player seems to slap or make contact with one of the Egypt players' face, wasn't a foul, game goes on. After Messi missed his penalty, Egypt went on counter-attack and led to a foul that, for me, looks like it's a yellow, looked like he smashed into him quite a bit, but you may also say that maybe he ran into him. Okay, the Egyptian bench complains and they got yellow carded for it. Another foul here on Salah, looks like a pretty obvious yellow card, going in with quite some force, and in the run-up to Argentina's goal, there was potential 2 opportunities here for 2 fouls given on Egyptian players earlier in the build-up. Foul number 1 where the ball falls in the box and one of the Egyptian players gets his shirt pulled back by McAllister. This was not viewed for VAR. Foul number 2 is that when Salah was inside the box, he got tripped on his toes. Now, you would say this is very soft, and you know what? I would also agree that this was also soft. I personally wouldn't think this is a penalty. The problem is that there was also the Martinez incident earlier in that game that also chalked off Egypt's goal, and I would say both of these were also very light. If the contact from Martinez was worthy enough to take a goal away, then I think this contact on Salah is also worthy enough for a foul. By the way, in my own personal view, I don't think either are a foul, but the inconsistency is the main frustration. Argentina went on to score, the Egyptian players asked for a VAR check, everyone asked for a VAR check, the referee didn't even check VAR. There was nothing to check at all. However, of course, in Egypt's goal, when Messi and the team asked for a VAR check, that did get a VAR check, and it got pulled back way off in the build-up that led to the Martinez foul, and it got chalked off. Again, the inconsistencies is what is frustrating people. And we already know what Zico came out and said about saying it's not fair, and how the manager made a damning statement about the fact that the referees looked like they were in favour of Argentina, and that maybe they want Lionel Messi to win. It's quite a lot. Okay, what else is there? There must be more than just this, right, to lead to all of this. Well, there's some little weird thing for the France versus Morocco game, which France and Argentina has a pretty strong rivalry now. I would say this is a conflict of interest, but typically the main 3 officials, the linesman and the referee, is of the same nationality, and the 2 assistants are typically of a different nationality. No, each and every single one are Argentine. It's like having Germans referee in an England game. You just won't allow it to happen. It's a conflict of interest. If it's valid or not, or if you think they should be professional or not, it's irrelevant. They purposely don't do this just to avoid this potentially being a talking point. And not only is it not the 3, but it's actually all 5 are Argentine to referee and officiate this France game. And of course, if you don't know, based on the last World Cup, there's also animosity between France and Argentina. There's a big rivalry here. But I know what you're going to say. Liam, wait, but for the Argentina-Egypt game, the game that everyone's saying is rigged for Argentina, the referees in that game were French, where 3 of the 5, and the main ones on the field, were indeed French.
Alright, so that right there about the referees being on the side of Argentina. What he's explaining right now is these are literally French referees, and Argentina's biggest competitor and nemesis right now is France. So the idea that these referees are in favor of Argentina sounds kind of ridiculous. Now listen, did they get some calls wrong? Were they consistent the whole match? No. Have you ever watched sports? Have you ever seen a game where every single call was consistent? Probably not. At the end of the day, referees, and in my case, umpires for baseball, they're humans. They make mistakes. They might call one ball a strike and then the same ball a ball, the same spot, because they're not perfect. They're making a judgment call within seconds. So to expect a human being to get every single call right is ridiculous on its face. Bad calls have been part of sports forever. People have lost championships over bad calls. People have lost a lot over bad calls. And yeah, is it frustrating? Of course it's frustrating. We have the worst call Argentina actually got of all time, the hand of God goal. If you don't know what that is, I suggest you look it up. But this was a time before they had replay to check things, and Argentina's best player scored his first goal, which the referee thought was header, but he actually used his hand. It was against England. And yeah, that counted. And then he also scored the go-ahead goal, and they won. And that's known as one of the craziest calls, worst calls, most historical calls of all time. Was it his fault? A little bit. Did he get away with it? Sure. How much times have you gotten away with something? Seriously, ask yourself. When did I do something and get away with it? You probably have. I think we all have. Now, does that make it right? No. But it's just part of sports and overall just part of life.
So this is clearly completely irrelevant dependent on where they are. Which in that case you have a good point, and that's a good way to balance this out. That does it really matter in the end? And this can be traced back to the start of this tournament, that for the Algeria game, Messi v Algeria, he's got a hat-trick, and there was the call for him maybe being sent off against Algeria. Now at the time I said that I don't really think this is a red card, but you can see it be given. If it was just this and maybe one or two other little things, which happens to every team in every tournament, I wouldn't say there's some grand conspiracy. And by the way, I'm saying this is not me saying it's a conspiracy, I'm just showcasing why people think that and having a debate here. The problem is when there's an inconsistency, aka Balogun v Bosnia. Messi was chasing down one of the Algerian players and his boot high up on the back of the calf, so above the ankle.
Alright, we're going to stop here for a second. And because that Egypt game was especially magnified as far as apparently the refs not calling stuff on Argentina, but they were calling stuff on Egypt. So I found some other videos relating to this. Let me just find them real quick. So we're just going to look at 3 short videos real quick.
On Lisandro Martinez that disallowed the 2-0 for Egypt. Now, I'm sorry, but in the VAR, this is clearly a foul. He steps on his foot and he's jumping in because Lisandro Martinez has got past him. So as you can see in that clip, the Egyptian player was erratic, jumped in, and steps on his foot. A foul is a foul, I'm sorry. Yes, I was the first person that wanted Egypt to score that 2-0, 100%. But fairness is fairness. And then we have this situation with Salah at the end of the game. He gets tripped up, apparently. And people are claiming this is a penalty. But this is why context is important, as you can see here. That's not a foul. And by context is anyone can stop and take a screenshot and show an image where it looks like it's a foul. But when you look at it, Salah gets dispossessed before, he tangles himself in it, and this trip is not enough to fall over. He knows it, everyone knows it. Look, I'm the first person to shout out any mistakes by referees. I've done it before against Argentina and I'll keep doing it. Look, I probably would have said, oh, it's rigged if it happened to me straight after the game, being all emotional. Then after reviewing it, I'd say fair enough. Look, you have to accept it. Egypt played so well and I wanted them to win, but ultimately Messi's different gravy. But you got to hold your head up high because you still cause a lot of damage to Argentina, and that is something to be proud of. Everyone is saying that Egypt was robbed. First case.
Right, let's go on to the next one.
God, you look so pretty when you tell me that you love me. I wish that I could lie, but my mind gets in the way. I know you think that I'm always way too self-aware. Oh, we could never be together, but it's nice to play pretend. I wish that I could lie, but I'm way too self-aware. God, you look so pretty when you tell me that you love.
4. Well, all right. So now we see that it doesn't just cut one way; it cuts both ways. I've watched a bunch of the Mexico games, and it cut both ways for them too. I saw Mexico commit some, I guess, what should be called fouls, and then I seen other people doing against them, and a bunch of them don't get called. Personally, this might be a hot take. Recent soccer fan, really. Pretty much only started watching since last World Cup, but I like that they don't call as much fouls because soccer, along with basketball, was notorious for creating foul merchants. What's a foul merchant? A foul merchant is a player who intentionally flops or intentionally makes it look like a defensive player is fouling them to get a call. So some people will say this is strategy, and it is to some degree, but I'm not a big fan of that, to be honest. Trying to sell a foul, in my opinion, is some pussy shit. Straight up, some pussy shit. You're not trying to sell, like, why can't you just beat them on your own accord without them getting fouled? And basically, yeah, I would appreciate if they actually called less fouls in soccer and basketball across the board. I want to see players play. I don't go there to watch people get fouled. I watch them play. And we go back to the first video, see if he has anything more to say. But I think we got the gist of it.
Neutral, his reaction is one
Okay,
of
this
if you were
part's
a
interesting. This part's
again
interesting.
in what should be an incredible moment of shock or of joy or of you're witnessing a moment of history here, one of the greatest moments in World Cup history. And I'm not a body language expert, but for someone who's meant to be the FIFA president and to be completely neutral, his reaction is one of if you were a fan. And to compound this, outside when he was interviewed, he said that he suffered throughout the game. Why would he suffer throughout this game if he didn't want Argentina to win? Now, in defense of him, I will say, to counteract this, that of course, as the president of a competition, you would want the best player, the most
Yeah, obviously, this guy is the president of the FIFA World Cup. His job is to make it as big as possible and generate as most money as possible. So obviously, you want the best players to go the furthest. In this year's case, Mbappe, Messi, Rolando, Haaland. Those are the big 4 players that people could not stop watching, and people really enjoyed watching them. And they made great. Bro, Haaland, he grows so many fans. I've never heard of that guy until this year. And He is now like everyone's favorite soccer player at this point. And funny story about Holland, real quick, is Tom Holland, the actor who played Spider-Man, who's dating Zendaya, actually reached out to him during the game, sent him a message on Instagram saying, "Hey, I'm a fan, blah blah blah. You're in town. I would love to take you for dinner, blah blah blah." Both Hollands. Holland didn't even respond. He ghosted him. And then, Tom Holland was like, "Yeah, it was really humbling. I guess even movie stars get ghosted." Touche. Yeah, I mean, not everyone knows who you are. Yeah, you're super famous, but it's you didn't know about Holland a year ago. I bet the other Holland. So, and he is probably focused on soccer, not watching movies. So it kind of makes sense. Nothing to take personal. But yeah, of course, the president of FIFA is going to want certain teams to win and certain teams to lose to generate more money. This only matters if there is a direct order from him to tell the referees, "Hey, I want you to call more stuff against Egypt or whoever the opponent is and less stuff against Argentina." And while that is a theory, it has not been proven. And until it gets proven, it's just a theory. And this happens all the time with every sport, by the way. Every sport, everything. People are sore losers nowadays. People cannot take losing, and they will make any type of conspiracy theory as to why they lost. A big example was the election in 2020. Biden won, Trump lost, and you couldn't get over it. Whatever. People are making the same kind of excuse of why Argentina's winning. Yeah, does it suck seeing the same people win over and over again? Kinda. It's kind of cool sometimes. It's definitely cool if you're them. But yeah, people can't accept defeat, and they just take it like, "Oh, well, there was conspiracy. That's why I lost." It can't be because I blew the 2-goal lead in the last 10 minutes. That can't be the reason why. It couldn't be that our defense couldn't shut them down for 10 more minutes. No, that can't be it.
He will want them to
Yeah,
win.
yeah.
I think it's important to
Obviously,
keep
yeah,
that
yeah. He would
and
obviously
interpret
want-
information and things that aligns with
that's fair point.
beneficial to him as an owner, it's beneficial to him for the competition, for numbers and money and everything. I would get that. Not as if FIFA needs any more money or attention, by the way. So that is the reason why I would say that he reacted in this way. Could all of this, and I mean all of this, just be explained by confirmation bias, the unconscious tendency to seek and interpret information and
Yeah, confirmation bias is a crazy thing, actually. It definitely is real, and it definitely plays a bigger part in most people's decisions, and they don't even realize it.
things that aligns with pre-existing beliefs. If you think that Infantino wants Messi to win it, then no matter what he does, then every single thing he does will be examined in a way as if he will want them to win. I think it's important to keep that in mind. However, you can say, in fairness, that Argentina have been very fortunate and lucky at times in this competition. And in this Cape Verde game, now here, Cape Verde player won the ball, and he won the ball clearly against Messi, and it was given as a foul to Argentina, and Messi got a free kick in a good position. Later on, Cape Verde broke into midfield, and that the Argentina player literally handballs it to gain possession of the ball, like a clear handball. The referee just stared at it and didn't give a foul. I clearly know his handball about like 2 meters away from the referee, in which the referee makes a gesture that, oh well, he's too close to the ball, he can react to it, so there's nothing he can do. Despite the fact that he
Yeah, right here.
won possession of the ball with a
definitely
hand, which typically
handball.
always
I'm not
results
sure about the rule regarding if he can't get out of the way, because he's going fucking super fast. It does not look like he intentionally tried to touch that with his hand. So let's
in a foul.
see,
In the last minute of the game, Cape Verde were on a
but-
counter-attack, and it was there's a foul on the defender from Argentina. They're looking at their games, they're in the group stages, they've got Jordan, they've got Algeria and Austria. In the knockouts, so far it's Cape Verde, Egypt, and now next up is
Oh yeah, people were saying that they had an easier path to the championship because of their strength of schedule in the bracket play, but set up based on the pool play. So certain teams choked in the pool play, and that did give Argentina a little bit of an easier path to, the championship, because Portugal couldn't win their division, et cetera, and so forth. Oh, hey, look, our favorite Argentinian.
Cup run is this. Well, it's not their fault that Portugal couldn't top their group. It's not their fault that Uruguay completely destroyed themselves and couldn't get second place to play them in the round of 32. In another world, Spain could have had a poor group stage and they could have faced Spain in the round of 32.
All right, anyway, I think we got the gist of this video right here. And we are going to watch the one that I thought was even more interesting as a reason why people are hating on Argentina so much. And that's because of their apparent historical racism, supposedly a genocide. And, apparently their fans were acting up too. But this we're gonna apparently they don't like a lot of people. I don't know. They don't feel like they're Latin American. According to some people, you know what's fun? My brother actually told me that he's from Mexico, but we'll get into that in a second.
The most hated country in the World Cup right now is Argentina. And it's not just for one reason, it is for many reasons. Not only has Argentina showed that they're one of the most racist countries in the world, but the history of the country is even worse. But before I even get into talking about the history of Argentina, I want to talk about what's going on today. Well, Speed recently got to witness, and I shouldn't even say he got to witness, he pretty much exposed how racist these people are without even having to say anything, just letting the camera speak for itself. Because the most dangerous weapon in the world is a microphone and a camera. Well, the racism that Speed caught on camera, it caught so much international attention that even FIFA had to respond and put out the typical denouncement type of letter. We don't support racism. And now they're talking about launching an investigation. But we know whenever these type of people use that word investigation, that's just a word that they throw out there. They investigate nothing. They just try to make people feel more comfortable by saying, oh yeah, we're going to investigate this. What they're really doing is just hoping after a couple weeks people forget about this incident and then they just completely ignore it and they never say anything about it. I mean, just imagine if somebody stole something from you. You got proof. You got it on camera, right? You call the police. This guy stole something from me. I have proof, etc., etc. And they tell you on the phone, oh yeah, we'll go ahead and investigate it and we'll get back to you. And
You gotta love that. That straw man that's never happened before is the example. We have proof. We have it on camera, and this investigation led to nowhere. I don't know whose page this is, but please link me that. Please link me that because I guarantee you that never has happened. Now, do investigations take a long time? Absolutely, especially police investigations. They need to provide enough evidence for a prosecution. Just because you know somebody committed a crime does not mean you can arrest them and charge them. Or you could, but it might not hold up in the court of law. That's why criminals get away with stuff all the time, because the burden of proof has to be absolute. If this guy's saying that he has proof someone stole something on camera, I guess the proof is like, did it belong to them? Like, what do you mean you have someone that, was it from their house? Because if you have a video of someone stealing from your house, I'm pretty sure it'd be a slam dunk case. Or is it like a basketball at a park that someone picked up and you're saying that's yours and you got it on camera, but you don't have any proof that's yours? And let's see why.
Starting in the 1500s. By the early 1800s, black and mulatto residents made up a third of the population nationwide and up to 50% in some of the interior provinces. Where did they go? They didn't just vanish into thin air, they were systematically eliminated. During the Wars of Independence and the horrific War of the Triple Alliance, the state used Afro-Argentines as literal cannon fodder. They were pushed to the front lines to absorb bullets and die, decimating the male population. The black women who survived were forced to intermarry just to get by, accelerating the intentional disappearance of black identity. When the yellow fever epidemic hit Buenos Aires in 1871, the white elite packed their bags and fled to the wealthy suburbs. They left the poorest districts where the Afro-Argentine population was concentrated, quarantined, trapped, and left to die in overcrowded tenements. Out of
So the rich people were able to leave the area and the poor people weren't. Wow. No way. Tell me more about it. Almost like happens everywhere.
the 14,000 people wiped out in a matter of months, the dead were disproportionately black. Then came the late 1800s and President Domingo Sarmiento openly pushed blanqueamiento, aka the whitening. The government literally subsidized the migration of over 6 million Europeans, mostly Italians and Spaniards, between the 1860s and 1960s to dilute the surviving black and indigenous populations. At the exact same time, they quite literally
Okay, so did they take in Europeans? Yes. To dilute the black population? I don't know about all that. But there is nothing wrong, especially in today's day and age, immigrating. America is the best country in the world because of our immigration, because we are a melting pot, because we have so much diverse of thoughts that we are the most innovative people in the world, strongest people in the world. Like, it's undeniable. Of course, you're going to want a mixed population.
erased black and mulatto categories from the national census, reclassifying mixed people as white on paper. If you don't count them, they don't exist. That was the logic. And the obsession with whiteness didn't stop there. After World War II, the government opened its arms to some of the most horrific white supremacists in human history, becoming the primary destination for the Nazi rat lines. People like Adolf Eichmann and Joseph Mengele lived out their lives hiding in plain sight in Argentina. Because of this brutal discrimination, systemic marginalization, and racial erasure, countless Afro-Argentines fled.
People who have committed atrocities have fled to different countries forever. People have fled from America to Russia. People have fled from Russia to America. People have fled from Russia to Mexico. Look at Stalin's counterpart, Chavansky, I believe. The idea that just because you take in a few bad people from across the world, that makes you bad is not only just dumb, way of thinking, it's also just not in line with what's going on with the world. Like this happens regularly. People flee. Look at the Shah Iran. He had to dip. Before he dipped, Soleimani, the supreme leader before that, had to dip because he got exiled. Does that mean the country that took them in are bad? No, it just means that, hey, we just took you in. That's not a big deal. Maybe they had good relations with them. Nazi Germany, yeah, of course, they're bad people. Guess you know who else took them? The United States. Not only did we take in people from the Nazi regime, we put them to work for us, so our military could get better and do more atrocities across the world, or defend our country, depending on how you look at it. You know, it's a mix of both. I think we started with a good cause, but you know what we've done in the past couple decades is a little ridiculous.
Crossing borders into Uruguay and Brazil just to find a place where black culture had a visible established footprint and they could breathe without being treated like ghosts or criminals. We see the legacy.
So a bunch of the black population decided to immigrate away by themselves to different countries.
All out the history, the government, and the deep-seated racism that everybody else in Latin America and the world sees, but we continuously deny. There's a major reason why a vast majority of Latin America and the world don't like us. Argentina is easily one of the most racist countries in the world. We are quite literally the Israel of Latin America. Argentina had one of the quietest but most violent genocides in African and indigenous history. Let's stop lying to ourselves. The white Argentina you see today was engineered. It did not just happen naturally. It was a calculated, state-sponsored project of erasure, built on the same foundations of displacement and violence and erasure as America or Israel. Before Europeans showed up, this land belonged to the Diaguita, the Guarani, the Mapuche, and dozens of other indigenous nations. And in the 18th and 19th centuries, African people were a massive part of our fabric. Enslaved Africans were brought here starting in the 1500s. By the early 1800s, black and mulatto residents made up a third of the population nationwide and up to 50% in some of the interior provinces. Where did they go? They didn't just vanish into thin air, they were systematically eliminated. During the Wars of Independence and the horrific War of the Triple Alliance, the state used Afro-Argentines as literal cannon fodder. They were
Alright, so I looked into these claims a little bit about the Battle of Independence and the Triple Alliance War. First question I asked, what are they? I didn't know what they were. So let's take a look at what they are. The War of Independence, also known as the Spanish-American Wars of Independence, were a series of wars and revolutions across Spanish America from roughly 1808 to 1833. Napoleon's invasion of Spain in 1808 weakened Spanish control. Rails and other groups took the opportunity to push for independence from Spain. They fought mainly Spanish royal forces, majority leaders Simon Bolivar, Miguel Hidalgo, and Jose Maria, and others. Paraguay declared independence relatively peacefully in May 11th of 1811. Other major results: independence of Argentina, Chile, Peru, Colombia, Venezuela, Ecuador, Bolivia, Mexico, and other Central American countries. Brazil became independent from Portugal in 1822. And now let's go to the War of Triple Alliance. So wait, first off, let's recap that real quick. The War of Independence. These were all the Latin American countries fighting against, let's see, Spain, the people who colonized them. Interesting. So all the Latin American countries, a majority of them were rooting for the people who colonized their indigenous land rather than their fellow Latin American country. Now let's go to the War of Triple Alliance, also called the Paraguayan War. This was completely different and much later conflict from 1864 to 1870. It is widely regarded as the bloodlust war in Latin American history. Who fought? Paraguay versus the Triple Alliance, Empire Brazil, Argentina, and Uruguay. Long-standing regional rivalries in Rio de la Plata, Basin. Paraguay intervened in a Uruguayan civil war, supporting one side while Brazil supported the other. When Argentina refused Paraguay permission to send troops through its territory, Lopez invaded Argentina. This brought Argentina and Uruguay fully into the war against Paraguay. So yeah, Paraguay was heavily outnumbered. The war ended in 1870 with the death of Lopez, and then these countries won. How are these two connected? War of Independence, early 1800s, created the independent countries of Paraguay, Argentina, Brazil, and Uruguay. Decades later, those same countries fought each other in a war of Triple Alliance, the most devastating interstate war of South America that it has ever seen. Now, then I addressed this guy's claim that the black Afro-South Americans were used as cannon fodder. Were black people used by Argentina as cannon fodder? So, thoughts. Yes, Afro-Argentinians and black mixed race of Africans served in large numbers in the Argentine armies during the 19th century, including the Wars of Independence and War of Triple Alliance. They suffered high casualties. However, the claim that they were deliberately used as cannon fodder is a planned effort to eliminate the black population, an overstatement that modern historians have largely rejected. All right, so why were most of them black that used that? Probably because they were recently freed slaves and they were poor. You know, the cannon fodder in every war is always the people, never the people at the top, never the sons of the politicians or the kings or the emperors or whoever the fuck's running the country. It's always the people at the bottom. Still today, look at the American army. Who's it mostly made out of? Mostly made out of low income families. Unfortunately, that's just how things are. That's how things have always been. I would love for there to be a time where if you decide to go to a war and you're a politician, that, you know, maybe your kid should be in the war, that you are sending other people's kids to war. But that's just simply not the case right now. So to say that Argentina did this intentionally when it's Argentinians, both black and white and everything in between, were fighting together for their own independence is just absolutely ridiculous. All right, let's continue and see what else this guy has to say. If he has to say anything of relevance.
Were pushed to the front lines to absorb bullets and die, decimating the male population. The black women who survived were forced to intermarry just to get by, accelerating the intentional disappearance of black identity.
Forced to intermarry. You know, this reminds me a lot of the right-wing stuff in America right now. Like, oh, the white people are losing their country. Like, the white population is going down. All because of interracial marriage, and people from other countries are coming over here and they're sleeping with white women. It sounds like a skill issue. Sounds like a skill issue, my man. Maybe you should look inwards and maybe you could find reasons why people don't find you attractive, and then, you know, you could repopulate the white population by sleeping with white women.
When the yellow fever epidemic hit Buenos Aires in 1871, the white elite packed their bags and fled to the wealthy suburbs. They left the poorest districts where the Afro-Argentine population was concentrated, quarantined, trapped, and left to die in overcrowded tenements. Out of the 14,000 people wiped out in a matter of months, the dead were disproportionately black. Then came the late 1800s, and President Domingo Sarmiento.
So yeah, the rich people were able to leave the places that, you know, there's a plague, and the poor people weren't. Again, this tracks with every empire, every country in history. Always the working class and the poor that get this shit on the stick. Not that hard to figure out.
Openly pushed blanqueamiento, aka the whitening. The government literally subsidized the migration of over 6 million Europeans, mostly Italians and Spaniards, between the 1860s and 1960s to dilute the surviving black and indigenous populations. At the exact same time, they quite literally erased black and mulatto categories from the national census, reclassifying mixed people as white on paper. If you don't count them, they don't exist. That was the logic. And the obsession with whiteness didn't stop there. After World War II, the government opened its arms to some of the most horrific white supremacists in human history, becoming the primary destination for the Nazi rat lines. People like Adolf Eichmann and Joseph Mengele lived out their lives hiding in plain sight in Argentina. Because of this brutal discrimination, systemic marginalization, and racial erasure, countless Afro-Argentines fled, crossing borders into Uruguay and Brazil.
Did a lot of Nazis flee to Argentina? Yeah, they did. You know where else they went? The United States. Actually, I got something on that right here. This little thing I found, pretty good actually. So the anti-Argentine sentiment is about the southern country too proud. It's about empires that lecture it. By the way, I agree with this. The westernization of South America needs to stop. You guys do not want to end up where we are right now. South American countries. Trust me, America seems like it's all great, but anytime I visit a South American country, it seems like the people there are a lot happier. So powerful nations narrate themselves as ideal to aspire. When the North wins, it's confidence. When Argentina wins and looks the empire dead in the eye, the exact same pride becomes a problem. Racism charge is respectable costume for it. We don't know our place and we're not sorry. Maybe the least racist country in Latin America? I don't know, let's find out. Not because we have no racist, but because Argentina made racial separation the rule for who belongs. There is no law here that no black ancestors mark you as black for life. No separate schools, no drawers you're born into and die in. Some people can only see diversity when bodies stay apart and countable. Here the instinct is opposite. Mix everything in. on this soil until it becomes Argentine. We didn't sort people, we blended them. Also, this is the reason why America is peak, because we do have that, diverse population, even though there is a lot of America fighting back on that right now. Your racial map isn't the world. The racial North built its race categories out of its own crimes. The one-drop rule that turned one African ancestor into a lifelong label, colonial caste, Lars, apartheid, that's their past. It stops being fine when they hand that grid to the planet as the one true moral language in a great country that never spoke it. Argentina isn't failing your test, never sat it. So yeah, again, another dig at the Western idea of racism, which is basically just who is most politically correct. Europe had human zoos until 1994, and they're lecturing us about race. I didn't even know that. That's crazy. Yeah, interracial marriage isn't genocide. I agree. Just the same reason that, white folk in America think they're getting genocide or they're losing their country because, people are mixing. That means that everyone's losing their country. That's the whole point of America in general, is to be a mix. Like, the founding fathers were smart enough to include freedom of religion and be pro-immigration, probably because they were immigrants themselves, to having a country that could evolve and survive. If you are going to stand on that America should only be white, it's only for the whites, the country's that's not sustainable. It's not going to last forever. The reason America is so good is because of the Constitution and its ability to evolve and develop with the current times. Does that mean that America is going to be all Muslim one day? No, it doesn't. It means that Muslims can come here and they're welcome. It means that Muslims and Christians can get along. It means that Christians and Jews can get along. It means that people from all over the planet can come here and get along because we're under one banner, and that's called American. Now, another thing I saw that was kind of funny, my brother actually hit me up. We're Mexican, by the way. I think I mentioned that earlier. And he was telling me that basically Argentina, why are you rooting for Argentina? They don't like Mexicans. Okay. And then he sent me a funny clip. Play that right now. This is the one. So this is a clip of some Argentinians pretty much saying how they don't like Mexicans.
¿Qué pasa? Vení, Lucho, vení. ¿Qué pasa, amigo? ¿Qué pasa?
¿Qué peor, Inglaterra o México?
Inglaterra, toda la vida. Inglaterra, obvio. También nos cae muy mal. Sí, pero Inglaterra es lo peor que hay.
No es clásico México-Argentina.
No es clásico, ni cerca, no hay rivalidad. ¿Qué pasa? Vení, Lucho, vení. ¿Qué pasa, amigo? ¿Qué pasa?
¿Qué peor, Inglaterra o México?
Inglaterra, toda la vida. Inglaterra, obvio. También nos cae muy mal.
You got the idea. This is, he sent me this one too, my brother. This is an Argentinian fan harassing a Mexican fan. The Mexican fan handles it like a fucking G, by the way. It's so fucking funny. But yeah, of course, you're going to have Argentinians that don't like Mexicans, and probably every other race too, have that literally everywhere. Now, we have a video over here.
Los argentinos no odiamos a los mexicanos.
Que conocemos mucho a México, tenemos una confraternidad muy grande con el pueblo mexicano.
Se escucha que en redes somos enemigos, pero no es cierto.
No, ¿qué enemigo de qué? ¡Viva México!
No todos los argentinos somos iguales, amamos la cultura mexicana y amamos a los mexicanos.
El argentino realmente admira la cultura mexicana.
Sinceramente, los mexicanos son increíbles.
Me encanta México, me encanta todo lo que se está viviendo acá.
Yo, como argentina, viviendo en México, siempre voy a hinchar por México, literal. O sea, aguante México.
Que me vine a vivir a Madrid
conocí gente de miles de nacionalidades. Pero si hay algo que puedo confirmar con certeza es que mis preferidos son los mexicanos. O sea, después los argentinos obviamente...
Mirá, yo es la quinta vez que vengo a México. Bendiciones, es un país hermoso. La verdad que...
Pongo la camiseta de México, pues ya la compré. La oficial.
Con todo, mi amor.
Un argentino manda un saludo y un abrazo al gran pueblo mexicano.
Yo les haré llegar el saludo a todos mis amigos.
Para mí es una nación noble y soberana.
Obviously, people like this in every country exist. In America, there's people that don't even like Americans. Like, so certain section of white people that don't even like black people, and certain section of black people that don't even like white people. And guess what? They're both racist. But guess what? Does that mean a majority of black people and white people are racist in America? Absolutely fucking not. Most of them get along. Now, we did get some videos of, I showed speed getting bullied, I guess. So yeah, in this video, you see speed but yeah, the Argentina fans talking shit. Talking their shit. But guess what? Just like every other fucking sport, that's what they do. They talk their shit. And it sometimes gets way overboard. I don't like those type of people that do it way overboard, but they exist in every sport, for every team, for every country. A few years ago, I remember I went to a Yankees game, and we were versing the Athletics. Me and my friend were there. And there was these two A's fans. It was a guy and his girlfriend, presumably. And there was a bunch of Yankees fans literally harassing the fuck out of them. To the point where they started throwing shit at them. And that shit was just unacceptable. Does that mean every Yankees fan's a piece of shit? No, of course not. Also, I found this video. This is a video of Messi. Messi's been targeted for a long time. People are always putting their hands on him. They actually literally try to hurt him. And this isn't even just from this tournament. This is over the years of how teams treat Messi. So when you see the Argentinian players get very defensive of Messi, like that, someone will push him and then you'll see someone come out of nowhere, push them back, it's because Messi's been dealing with this forever now. But it comes with the landscape. He's the GOAT. He's the GOAT. People don't want him there. People want to take him out. It is what it is. But it's not surprising when his teammates do his defense, when he's treated like this.
They say, oh my God, I see the way you shine. Take your hand, my dear, and place them both in mine. You know it's happening, that I was passing by. Oh my God! You dance just one more time. Ooh, I see you every night. And all my eyes, I like your style.
Okay, alright, we get it. Messi gets bullied. Oh yeah, here. Another video of Argentina fans. The black person. Let's see how they treat this one.
Fear.
Yeah.
For the people that say that we don't love black people, we love black people. It's just bull crap. The people say that we don't love.
You know what's funny? I've heard that a lot today. They were like, Argentina's racist, y'all are racist.
Yeah, that's not true.
Do you have children?
Yeah.
If you had a daughter and she brought home a black guy, how would you feel?
To be nice,
Respectful.
respectful, believe in God. We didn't bring too many black people to the country, so that was the reason that we don't have too many.
I'm gonna come over there and I'm gonna multiply. Alright?
My friend.
Yes, sir.
Fear.
All right. Oh, yeah. And this is a timeline of the abolition of slavery, country by country, in South America. In 1804, Haiti was the first country to abolish slavery in South America. Number 2, Argentina, 1813. Then we got Colombia, 1821, Chile, 1823, so on and so forth. Mexico, 1829. Brazil was until 1888. You know, the place where all the blacks were allegedly fleeing to from Argentina. All right, so there's that. We just gotta get all historical facts in order. Now, does Argentina have racism in their history? Of course they do. Every country does. Why were they targeted so hard? I'm not sure. I think I got an idea. I'll explain that at the end. Oh yeah. And this is, look, the thing that people are accusing Argentina of is actually a thing in the United States. So like anybody living in the United States, grandstanding, you sound ridiculous. There's literally
Let's hit
people
race
here
because
that say the
you're a
same
white
exact
only
thing
group.
as the people
So
that
the
you-
organization only allows people of American ethnicity, right? Which I think it's an ethnicity, who, you know, and all Americans, I believe, come from Europe, so they're white. Essentially, yes. The answer.
That's here in the United States, where most people that are posting about Argentina are from. Okay, we went over this already. Oh yeah, and now let's take a look at all the opponents that Argentina versed along the way, and when it started to intensify. So it really started to intensify. I saw the Argentina hate was after the Egypt game, saying it was rigged. Blah, blah, blah. I already showed you guys the videos of that game and that, you know, Egypt got away with some calls too. And now let's tie it over to the Argentina is racist and they're all bad people. So, you know what's another reason that Egypt probably could have lost? Is because they don't put their most talented team out there. Do you know why? Because they don't let Christians play. Some of their best players in the country are Christian. But guess what?
المسيحيين
They
ما بيروحوا نوادي بيتم
don't
رفضهم.
make the
انا
team.
عملت للفريق دوت
I forgot what
هدخل
player they were
مسيحيين
looking at. They were looking
ومسلمين
at some
بس
really good
الفكره
soccer player,
هيبقى
and
عندي
as soon as
الاقبال
they told them
المسيحيين
they're
اكتر ليه؟
Christian,
لان انا عارف مشكلتهم وانا حاسس
never got
بيهم
called back.
وعارف كل واحد ومشكلته لان انا واحد من الناس مريت بيها.
And the crazy part is, this starts at a very young age. Like even in the younger leagues, like I'm talking about kids leagues, once they find out you're Christian, they don't want you on the team. So these Catholic kids in Egypt have to make their own soccer teams, find their own leagues, because they just simply are not allowed to play with the Muslims.
اخوي دلوقتي عنده 21 سنه بس لما قدم عنده 17 سنه و16 سنه مع نادي الاتحاد قال له احنا اسمك هيعمل لنا مشكله. هو اسمه ابو نور سمير. قال له اسمك هيعمل لنا مشكله فهتخش معانا باسم مصطفى ابراهيم. فاخويا ما وافقش فما مضاش.
And if we're going to, you know, accuse people of being bad people because their country did a bad thing a long time ago, it's on Egypt, by the way. Just recently, this is very recent, we had a massacre, state-led, 2013. The killing was done by Egypt's Central Security Forces and Special Forces in close coordination with Egyptian armed forces, with a few, if any, reported deflections or refusals to open fire. Security forces began firing on civilians around 6:30 a.m. And over the course of 12 hours, they continued to empty rounds of live ammunition into crowds of men, women, and children who they had entrapped. Despite repeated promises of safe exit, this was not a brief killing spree that ended suddenly, as it began, or a panicked response of threatened conscripts in the fog of battle. 1 year later, not a single official has been held accountable. And yeah, this was a massacre that occurred at a protest in 2013 by the government. So we're going to hold Argentina to the standard of your government did something bad, therefore your whole country is bad. For a long history, what are we going to do about the countries with current, more current history, or even stuff going on right now? I don't know. I think funding a genocide is pretty bad. United States. Oh yeah, and if we're talking about rigged, it literally doesn't get more rigged than what the United States did, and that was basically a talking point. People talk about it for 20 seconds and then let it go. course, they got their ass kicked.
I wanted to ask you, can you describe your phone call with Gianni Infantino about the red card? And Belgium is appealing the decision. What's your
You're asking me about the whole soccer thing? So I saw the play, and I'm a person that loves sports and was a good athlete, and I understand sports really well, really well. And that wasn't a foul. He didn't do anything wrong, and he's our best player or one of our best players, a very vital player. And he gave him a red card. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't think it meant much. Then I started hearing that means he can't play in the next game, at least. All I did, I asked for a review because I didn't think it was a foul. And, again, I'm good at this stuff. I didn't think it was a foul. I thought it was two great athletes that crashed into each other and got entangled. That was not a guy punching somebody in the face or anything. All I did was ask for a review. I didn't say, you have to do this. This man is a smart, tough man. Gianni Infantino.
Funny part is, I actually do agree with Trump about their way too foul giving easy. Like, they give fouls way too easily. I actually do agree with him on that part. They should make it more physical. Like, of course, like, we're talking about people trying to get control of a ball with their legs. Of course, you're going to get stepped on, people are going to trip up. Like, duh. But the call was already made. We got the red flag. Because Trump is the president of the United States, he's able to call, like, FIFA gave him made up an award for him. The FIFA World Peace Award. Gave it to him. He's obviously has a lot of leverage on the FIFA president. This is way more being rigged, even though we still got our ass kicked, than anything Argentina did. But yeah, back to the Christian thing that maybe Egypt lost because they don't put out their best team because they're hindering themselves by letting a portion of their population not participate. Now, this is just all them. By the way, it's fine. There is nothing wrong with praising Allah or being religious. The issue is when you only include your religion and see your religion as superior and don't allow other religions to participate. That's just unacceptable at this day and age. Any country that practices of just having a singular religion or singular ethnicity, you're not going to be sustainable. You're not going to make it as a country. Trust me. But let's see. Oh, yeah. I was a little bit disappointed in the Mexican fans doing this. This was also kind of, I wouldn't say it's rigged, but the Mexico fans are doing the most. And I'm Mexican. I thought this was kind of unacceptable in my opinion. So what this is the Mexican fans finding the hotel of the opposing teams and just basically throwing a humongous party outside and trying to keep them up all night so when they go to the game next day they're tired. You know what's funny? Mexicans, even when we're being pieces of shit, we do it in the funniest, funnest way. Like, look at that. That actually looks mad fun to be at. But yeah, doesn't make it right. Oh yeah. Who did Argentina verse after Egypt? Oh yeah, that's right. England. The British Empire. The one that Americans had to forcefully leave and start a revolution against. The one that had a fucking grip on the entire world at one point. The one that was the original country taking Iran's oil, and then they were fighting with Russia / the Soviet Union for that. One that had a bunch of apartheid states all over the world. The one that still has a monarchy. Yes, that one. So, oh yeah, I wanted to show this as well. This was disappointing to see. This actually, I didn't like seeing this.
América Latina, menos Argentina. América Latina, menos Argentina. América Latina.
So that is a lot of people from Latin American countries. A lot of them were from Mexico, if you saw that, cheering for Spain. And yeah, saying we root for Latin America except for Argentina. How disappointing. And so instead of rooting for your fellow Latin American country, you're literally going to root for the country that colonized the indigenous people of South America. Like, does that not sound ridiculous to anybody? The Spanish colonization of the Americas began in 1493. It didn't lose its last territory till 1898. That's damn near 500 years, 400 years, whatever. So Spain is allowed to take over the entirety of South America and be basically racist towards all the indigenous people there for that long. But Argentina is not allowed to have a moment of, their own racism that was in the 1800s for a couple years, maybe a few decades. Listen, just because your country does something bad, that does not mean you have to be against your country. It's actually perfectly fine to call out your country when it does something bad, but just don't take it overboard and become like anti your own country. Call out what's good, call out what's bad, and that's how a good country should function. Here, this is a little video of a Jewish rabbi giving his honest take on Israel, which I really respect. A lot of more people have to do this about their own country, but just don't take it to the extreme where you're now actually choosing the other side, like completely opposite side. You have to be objective about these things and take things case by case. Because one Argentinian person says something racist doesn't mean they're all racist. That person's racist. That person maybe even caught it out of context. Like he was being racist towards his friends, and that's how they communicate. Who knows? So unless you have all the context and you're being objective, if you're going to label a whole group of people from a nation something bad or just bad, like something in generalizing them, that's just xenophobic. Like I hate what's going on with Israel attacking, Lebanon, attacking Gaza, all that, the West Bank, dragging us into the war with Iran. Does that mean I dislike all Israelis or all Jews? Of course not. I have lots of Jewish and Israeli brothers and sisters who also think that's wrong, by the way. I don't hate Israel. I just acknowledge what their current government doing is atrocious, and they're committing war crimes.
All Jews, and certainly does not represent the Jewish religion. According to Jewish religion, all of this is criminal. All of this is forbidden. Basics of Jewish belief teaches that Jews are in a divinely decreed exile. We are even forbidden to create a sovereignty for ourselves. But especially when this is by killing, stealing, oppressing an entire people. This is not only criminal according to international law. This is a true violation of Judaism. And still, those people who choose not to follow Judaism misuse that very same religion to justify all those crimes forbidden in Judaism. The root cause is this criminal occupation which is oppressing an entire people. We have to end this occupation in its entirety. If people will ask me my advice, the leaders of Israel should wake up tomorrow morning and step out of the Knesset and return the land back to indigenous population. I guarantee peace.
All right, chat. We got a foul on the play. If you're watching the stream, I realized that I tell you guys I'm going to play a video, and I don't give you any context as to why I'm playing the video or what is in the video. So the video highlights how if you become someone that tries to see racism in literally everything, you end up doing a full 360 and calling for the same racist rhetoric that you should be against. And it takes away from actual instances of racism because people just become so fatigued with everything is racist that you take away from genuine cases of racism because it's just over dramatized on so many levels. I was gonna show you guys this video, just highlighting America. There's just one funny clip that I wanted to find for you guys.
It's time to play Horseshoe Theory! Contestant number 1. Here is the tweet. Stop sending your kids to these race schools.
Oh, stop sending your kids to these black schools. Definitely a white supremacist.
Oh, I'm sorry. The tweet is stop sending your kids to these white schools. And it came from the account Dapper Domo, who is black. You know what that means? That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Into the pit!
From these devils. If we had segregation still, none of this would have happened. He wouldn't have had no interactions with any white boy because we would have been in an all-black school.
All right, the hilarious part about this one particularly is they were segregated by teams. If you guys don't know the case, I'll speed you up real quick. Carmelo Anthony was a track athlete who went into another track athlete's tent. And in that tent, he got a confrontation from somebody from that team. The white guy that got stabbed, I forget his name. Basically, they got in an altercation, some pushing, and then Carmelo Anthony stabbed him and killed him. We've gone so full circle that if you're black, you're allowed to murder, and if we convict you for that, it's racist. According to some black people, not all of them. Obviously, these are the most radical of the radicals. The average black person probably agrees that Carmelo Anthony needs a type of sentencing for killing someone. But yeah, so we have these own race wars within our own country. So seeing a bunch of American people, I say American people, a lot of them were, first generation, second generation Americans from Latin countries, American countries, who have become so far westernized that they don't even recognize that their own countries don't even play that kind of dumb, for lack of better words, woke bullshit. Listen, I'm all about equal rights. I have no problem with anyone, gender, race. I think trans people are valid. As long as you are a good person and don't do anything that disturbs others, as far as don't be harassing other people, you're a good person in my book. But yeah, so seeing all these accounts, especially American accounts, preach that Argentina is the worst country ever because they are racist, and for that reason we deserve to hate on all of them. Which, by the way, I went to the final game with my Argentinian friend. And I was wearing the Argentinian jersey. I posted on Instagram. I'll show it here, eventually. And I got so much DMs, so much hate on the streets going to the game and leaving the game that, I really haven't experienced much. Like, the last time I experienced something like that was when Trump first got, elected. I would say in, 2016, the Mexican hate was pretty high. He's talking about build the wall, and a lot of people felt comfortable being racist now, or being themselves, really, I guess. And yeah, that's the last time I experienced that. So, that amount of hate. I mean, I think Jews probably get it now. Some American Jews probably get that now, or Jews all over the world get that now, and they don't deserve it because, the normal Jew is not the problem. The normal Israeli is not the problem. The problem is the people in power. The same way that the average American is not responsible for all these unnecessary wars that none of us want. It's our leaders, and a lot of our leaders have been hijacked by, the Israeli lobby and do their bidding. It's not our fault. I love America. That doesn't mean I can't call it out when it's doing something horrible. The reason I am calling out is because I do love America. But anyways, now we went over everything, pretty much. And let me tell you what I'm going to conclude. What I think Argentina is really suffering from is greatness, really. I experienced this as a Yankee fan, not really as of late, but growing up, all the other teams hated us. Same way they hate the Dodgers now. You know why? Because they're winning. And, you could use whatever excuse you want but it's not objective because if you had that reason to dislike Argentina, you would pretty much dislike every single team in the FIFA World Cup. The real reason you don't like Argentina is because you're tired of seeing them winning. Hey, that's fair. I'm tired of seeing the Dodgers winning, but I also know, it's fine because when I was a Yankees fan, people were tired of seeing the Yankees winning. Being on top comes with the territory. You're gonna get hate. So after all the research, yeah, my conclusion is most of you guys just hate Argentina because they're winning. And well, they lost this time now. So maybe next World Cup you could chill the fuck out. And let's end on a good note, actually. I think sports is actually a great way for different countries and cultures to come together and, show that we're all actually way more alike than we are different. And we shouldn't hate each other. We could all love each other, actually. This was seen so well with the Koreans in Mexico. It was actually beautiful. There were so many clips. I could go on and on of clips I found of the Koreans in Mexico getting along so well, how it brings communities, different backgrounds together. And yeah, this is just one of them.
Yeah, testing 1 2 1 2. There's a little something for you little biatch.
Watch my 9mm go bang. Watch my 9mm go bang.
All right, well, if you made it this far into the video, just want to let you know, thank you, and I appreciate you. Hit like and subscribe. Maybe share with a friend if you really liked it. And yeah, I did a lot of Argentina defending today, only because what I saw was gross. The way the Argentinians were being treated was not okay. Let's be better. We can all do better. But yeah, even though I did all that, it is always going to be we got the best culture, best food, best fucking place to visit in the world. Viva Mexico!